Hello and welcome. So excited to spend the next half an hour with you getting ready for the AI Ready Classroom. My name is Jen Hudson. I'm Nationally Board Certified Teacher, and I got my master's in curriculum and instruction with an emphasis in language and literacy. And you got my email right there if you ever need me. I am an English teacher turned beginning teacher mentor. I have been in my district for 18 years, and I am an Arizona native, born and raised. I like to say that this is really home because it definitely is for me. Even when it's 125 out, it's still home. I am a nationally board certified teacher. I initially certified in 2013 and then maintained my certificate in 2023 in the areas of early adolescence, English language arts. And I am the parent of two elementary age students, and you'll see them on the right there. And I include this picture for a couple of reasons. One, because it's adorable. Two, because both of my children tried new sports this past season. It was the first time playing football for my youngest and the second time playing football for my oldest. But they went outside their comfort zone. They chose maybe the sport that they enjoyed more, but not that they were the best at. So I hope that we kind of take that mindset into our time together, where we're going to be taking some time learning about some things that we may want to learn about, but we're not the best at yet. And it's going to take some practice and it's going to take some effort. But I want us to keep that idea of trying something new and working at a goal or a task in mind, just like my kiddos did. So, how we're going to spend our time today. We're going to look at some base knowledge to make sure we are all on the same level playing field with regards to what some of these new frontiers look like and what protections are in place. So, we'll look at some of those safeguards. We'll look at some of the ethics around some of these emerging technologies. And then we will apply some of our knowledge. So, we'll look at AI as co-intelligence and as an assistant. We'll look at how to prompt engineer, and we'll kind of think about what AI for student use might look like, depending on some of those safeguards and ethics that are in place. Now, some resources that are in place for you, okay, is the slide deck. So if you go to bit.ly/capital A, capital T, capital A, capital A, capital I, capital R for ready, you'll have the entire slide deck available to see. And then that's where you can get this action plan as well. So this action plan is a clickable link, so you can click on that. And it looks a little something like this. And I want to walk you through what this action plan really has in store for us. So there's three tabs on our left-hand side. The first is an action plan. The second part is how can I use AI? And the third part is prompting. And we'll get into it each, but I just wanted to draw your attention to this left side where it says that tab piece, because that's going to be really crucial for us as we navigate through our time together. So, base knowledge. First and foremost, you're going to need some answers to some questions. And I would love to be able to say I have all the answers. I don't, I never will. But you are going to have some answers that you're going to need based on your specific context. Because everybody's schools are different, everybody's districts are different. So we're going to want to really dive into this. So first, when it comes to your school, I want you to really think about what are the expectations of teacher technology use and experimentation. What about AI? Who is the go-to tech guru on your campus? What is their specialty? And what are the rules around student and technology use and AI use? So you'll see on this note catcher, all of those questions are right here where it says school logistics questions. So I want you to stop and jot really quick. What are the questions that you need answers to? Star those. And then answer the questions that you do know. Right here. I'm going to pause and actually pause and do this. If you paused, I appreciate you. If you did not and was like, nope, I know these answers, I'm going to power through, that's on you. But just know we get out what we put in, and we want to make sure that we're doing this the right way, that we're not just moving forward for the sake of moving forward. We need to know these answers to make sure that we are abiding by the rules, especially of our district too. If you are at a district school, a lot of your districts are going to have some things in place. So you need to find out, what are the approved technology and AI platforms accessible to you? What about your students? How do you know? Where is that information housed? What about what student data protections are in place? If you're like, I don't know the answer to that one, before we dive into anything technology related, we need to know the answer to this one. And then what extra steps might you need to take what extra steps might you need to protect yourself and your students? So Looking at this right here. I want you to go through and answer those questions. Going to pause. Okay. Now, after you've taken the time to star what you already need, what you need the answers to, and answer the ones that you already know, great. Let's look at what safeguards and protections there are in place both nationally and at the state level. So nationally, we have three big acts. Okay. We have SIPA, which is the Children's Internet Protection Act, and this really makes sure that AI tools or platform align with internet safety policies. That web filtering is allowed, that there are ways to protect students from accessing materials that they shouldn't access. FERPA, we've known for about FERPA for a very long time. FERPA makes sure our educational records are safe and secure. And then also we have the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, which means that all service users must be at least 13 years old or with parental consent, while others have age restrictions. So this means that private students, when they're online, are protected. So these exist. If you're like, I didn't know about SIPA or COPPA, by all means, take a look into them to see how they might impact your daily practices. At a state level, we have some really important resources at us too. So we've got some state statutes, which are right down here, and all of these more or less ensure that AI tools are used appropriately, that everyone has protocols in place, that they're not just used willy-nilly at a state level, that student data is protected, and that there's oversight. One of the things that is more recent is the Arizona Institute for Education and the Economy. Now, this is part of NAU, and they have issued their second, almost third guidance document for Arizona schools and school systems. And you'll see this pop up a couple of times in my presentation because a lot of the work that they have done has been very instrumental in helping the state of Arizona really understand what AI could do in schools. So I would strongly suggest if you've got, some time on your hands to take a look. I think, I mean, this table of contents really shows us everything that's really in it that could help us. And if there's something that you're seeing on this table of contents, like, oh my gosh, that is amazing. I want to take a look at that. By all means, dive into it. And this is a great shareable item for campuses as well. So, what we're going to look at next, let's see, I need this. There we go. It closed on me. So, next thing we're going to look at, okay, remember, these are our base knowledge pieces of information. When we are talking about AI or any emerging technologies, we need to make sure that there's really four things having to do with them, that there's safety, that there's accountability, that there's fairness, and there's efficacy. We need to make sure that students are safe, data is safe. We need to make sure that there are standards associated with use. And we need to make sure that the data is checked for bias, that there are quality standards. And we need to make sure that it actually works, that it actually improves teaching and learning outcomes. So, some ethical considerations when we're looking at this. Okay. When we're talking about AI, when we're talking about artificial intelligence, and this is for teachers and students, AI can become a learning crutch. When we rely too much on tech over critical thinking, we lose the learning. Yes, things get done, but oftentimes the learning is lost in the process. So when we're thinking about using AI, or as teachers, or when we're thinking about using AI in student case tests, we need to make sure that we are not over relying on technology over that critical thinking. AI is still a brand new platform. We are going to see massive quality gaps. I I did this with one of my teachers once, and you actually can ask Gemini or ChatGPT or Copilot, whatever your district uses, to explain something that's fake, and it will. So I'm in Gemini right now, and I'm going to ask it to explain an idiom. Explain the idiom smarter than a sheet of paper. Now, there is no idiom that is smarter than a sheet of paper. That idiom does not exist. That is not common in our language. But if I ask AI to do something, it is going to actually give me something. None of this is right. All of this is fake. So that's where we have to be really careful when it comes to looking at those quality gaps. If we feed it wrong information, it is going to feed us wrong information back. So we need to make sure that we verify accuracy and that we are using it in a way that meets academic standards. Of course, whenever we introduce a new technology, there is sort of a social isolation that goes along with it. Okay. We tend to, instead of ask for questions, we ask AI now. For example, I'm planning a trip with some friends, and instead of asking, some of my friends who have different friends who have done a similar trips, hey, what did you like it? Did I go to AI first and ask AI for its opinion, for its ideas? Yes, I did. So we need to make sure that if we are using artificial intelligence, that we do not lose that human to human connection. And of course, as with any new implementation of something, there's going to be a dip. You're going to see either a lot of people just jump in all the way, or you're going to see a bunch of people push back, and you're going to see really not a great effectiveness when it comes to AI use in the first little bit. But the biggest point of I really want us to take from this is that human interaction, intelligence, and oversight is necessary anytime AI is used for any purpose. AI is not simply plug and play. AI has the capabilities to do a lot for us, but it is human interaction, human intelligence, and human oversight that is really going to be what drives the next steps for AI. So let's apply some of this knowledge. Okay. So, when we think about educational progress, and especially now in the new frontier of I want us to really think in like three different ways. Okay. I'm going to use the analogy of a map. Okay. If we're trying to get somewhere, we've got a couple ways to get there. We can use a paper map. And when we use a paper map, that means the user does all of the mental work. The user is the one that's holding the map. The user is the one that's saying, okay, I think our next turn is going to be over here. It's very high effort, but everything is learned very deeply. I think back to the days where we literally used to have to print out map quests to get somewhere when we were going on a trip. Okay. It is I know exactly how to get places now because I was able to look at that map and be able to really hold it and tell us where it was going next. But nowadays, we have GPS. Okay. I'm still driving the car, the user's still driving the car, but the GPS, the Google Maps, the Apple Maps give us real-time feedback, give us real-time rerouting when there's an accident ahead. They allow us to focus on the road instead of getting stuck in the deep end, instead of wondering what's next. This is really where things mesh and combine. The other alternative is a self-driving car. In a self-driving car, the user reaches the destination without knowing exactly how they got there. They could be doing something in the car, reading a book. If the technology fails, they're completely lost. They have no idea where they are. So we need to make sure that we're living in this GPS range, okay? A lot of us are still living in this paper map, but for us to be able to make sure that we're making the progress our kids need, we really should be looking at how we can work a little bit smarter, not harder. I don't want us in self-driving cars. I want you in control of where you're going and how you're getting there. So there's two ways that we're going to look at AI. The first way we're going to look at it is with co-intelligence. And I love this phrase co-intelligence because it means intelligence alongside of the existing intelligence. Nobody knows your kids better than you. Nobody knows your students better than you. Nobody knows your data better than you. So AI really allows, as co-intelligence, really allows you to get a little bit deeper. So as I go through these, I want you to like stop and jot. If you go to over here, how I can use AI, you can put these right here. Okay. So feel free to stop and jot whenever. I'm going to keep on going, but I want you to stop and jot after each bullet point if you can, so you can be writing as I talk about this. So the first is a creative spark. Okay. So AI can really be used as that brainstorm way. I need 5 ways to introduce Macbeth. And it'll give you 5 different ways to introduce Macbeth. I would like a way to have closure on my phonics unit. And it'll give you some closure. It'll ask you, hey, are we talking about what letter sound? It will ask you, you can ask it to give you different project ideas. Say, I really like this objectification unit. I would like something like it. Give me something else. So it really allows you to ask AI to kind of get into your brain. Oh, I've heard about that, or oh, that'd be really cool, because you know your students best. AI's co-intelligence can also mean a design collaborator, meaning that you can say, hey, here's what I think the lesson's going to be. Can you suggest ways to maybe give me some more student choice? Give me ways that students can collaborate, maybe different ways it can differentiate. So you can tell it what you're going to do and ask for feedback long before it happens. It can allow you to audit how inclusive your instruction actually is. You can upload your materials. You can ask it for accessibility gaps. You can ask for strategies to support more diverse learners. You can ask it to rewrite directions for you. You can ask it to use pictures to rewrite directions. So it really does make it so that it can audit what you're already doing and make it better. And then the last one is it can be an alignment analyst. What I mean by this is what you're doing, is what you say you're doing actually doing what you want it to do? If you say, here's my unit plans, do I meet my lesson objectives? It can give you some of that feedback. It can say, hey, you did this really well, but you really should focus on this if you want to do it better. So it can really be a co-intelligence thought partner in that. So I'm going to give you some examples. And I normally don't like to do this piece by piece, but I don't want us to see it all at once. So the way this is presented is you'll see what the AI can do on one side and what the teacher does on the other. Because what I want to be able to show you is that AI cannot exist without the teacher as the forerunner, without the expert in the room. So if we're talking about a thought partner, that's great, but you are still the expert. So we're talking about lesson design. It can obviously generate those hooks, but then you get to select the hook that best specific those specific students' personality and culture. You may know that they hate getting out of their seat. You may know that they love getting out of their seat. So as the expert, you can make that call. When it comes to differentiation, it can rewrite articles into different reading levels. But for you as the expert, you then will have to pair and group those students strategically. You will have to have the classroom management skills to be able to facilitate small group discussions on those different texts. When it comes to assessment, it can totally draft a 5 point analytic rubric, and it can totally write a 10 standards line quiz question. But what you need to do then, as the expert in the room, is you can adjust the rubric for what are your students used to? Are these words that they know? Are these words that they're using? And it also then so the student-friendly language piece, and then that piece of, oh, this is a very confusing question, or this doesn't work for my group of learners because they're used to 4 questions or 4 options, not 5. It can be a curriculum spark, okay? It can suggest real-world analogies, and then you can use your professional judgment to ensure that the analogy is rigorous and accurate. In other words, you can yeah, they will relate really well to this one. They won't relate really well to this one. And then, of course, we see this a lot with administrative tasks. This is what I see when I go in to talk about AI in schools that teachers are using AI for most often is drafting those emails. Now, as someone who has received an email from an administrator that did not sound like that administrator's voice, it's important to note that if you're drafting it in AI, make sure that you, as the expert, are focusing on that personal touch and building that emotional bridge. You're not just copying and pasting, because that goes back to those ethical considerations, that lack of human interaction. So, AI is an assistant. Now, all of these came in at once, so stop and jot whenever you want to. Now, this is where AI, I think, kind of really shines, because a lot of times we put off a lot of these tasks because they are not as fun as the teaching tasks. So AI can help you with routine tasks. It can help create interactive slide decks. It can help you create custom images and diagrams that are exactly tailored to your content. I was at a school the other day, and the principal had made a picture of herself on a train with the school's name on it as a delivery train for goodies for their classroom. Was it a little bit extra? Yes, it was a little bit extra, but the teachers loved it and helped them feel connected with another human. So you can use AI to distill your meeting notes into agendas, into to-do lists, and you can really then look at a bunch of different schedules, grouping strategies, and I love AI use sometimes for subplans as well, making it super effective. So I want you to stop and jot if you haven't already. And what are some of your needs in this area? So that's right over here. What are some of your needs in this area? Where could you use that help? So when we're looking at AI as an assistant, yes, AI can totally reformat a lesson plan into whatever you want it to. But you, as the expert, as the teacher, need to validate that it actually maintains that rigor that you're looking for. As an AI, the assistant, it can adjust those reading levels, which is awesome, but it's your job to assign it to the right level. And AI can give you that feedback, but you have to review the feedback for the empathy. So, how do we do it? How do we actually get AI to give us what we want? We have to prompt it. And I am using this acronym PROMPT to help us learn how to prompt AI to get what we want out of it. So P is for persona, R is for relevant context, O is for objective, M is for manner or format, P is for parameters, and T is for tone. What that means for personas, you have to define AI's role. What is AI going to be in this scenario? For the context, you need to give AI some necessary background information. You need to then clearly state what you need, specify what you want the output to be, give examples or limitations, and then you need to tell us what the user should feel afterwards. So, for example, ask as a fourth grade teacher, my students often struggle with math, but respond well to word problems, let's say. An objective would be I need help to write a formative assessment. I need help to come up with examples that have Spider-Man in them. Whatever you need help with, be explicit. Tell it what you need help with. You then tell them to specify what the desired output is. Create something which assesses Arizona standard, whatever, because we've always got to tie it to make sure it is rigorous and tied to standards. We give examples, no more than 2 questions, let's say, no more than 5 pages, whatever it may be, give it some limitations or say, I want it to look like this. And then insert a happy tone, insert a serious tone. So, what you're going to do in just a moment is navigate to your school or district's platform. You're going to pause and practice, and I really want you to do this, okay? Think about this list right here. Where could you use that help, okay? And I want you to actually go through, and here's that prompt, okay? And I want you to use this Mad Libs down here to go through the entire prompt part of prompting AI, okay? And try it a couple times. The more information or context you provide, the better. You don't need to rewrite the prompt. You can just literally say, nope, I want this instead. So I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to copy here. I'm going to go to Gemini. I'm going to do a new chat and I'm going to paste. Act as a middle school English teacher. My students are finishing the book The Outsiders. I love The Outsiders. I need help to create a menu. I need help to finish my unit. Create a tic-tac-toe menu. Menu with different products as options. Please ensure there are a variety of things for students to do and that Arizona State Standard RL 7.1 through 3 are addressed. Use a authoritative, no, use a happy tone. And then we have a tic-tac-toe board. I don't love the idea of character autopsy personally. The word autopsy wouldn't work with my students, so I would definitely want to change that. But I love the idea of all of these different options. They're written, there's the soundtrack here, there's a letter to S.E. Hinton, there's a point of view swap, there's a podcast in here, a paragraph essay. So there's lots of different options. So try it a couple of times, see what you want, see what you like about it. Definitely pause here to do so. Okay, now we got 5 minutes left. So what? Now what? Now you played around with AI, and if you are anything like me, you probably went down a little bit of a rabbit hole because I just feel like there's so much, especially with that prompt framing, that you can do to make sure that you're meeting your students' needs where they're at. So let's talk about students' needs. On the screen is a meme, and I love this meme. Because when I always say, you students can use AI and teach like students are using AI to cheat. I'm like, yeah, but teachers are using AI to grade papers. So if we're talking truly about AI for student use, students must be directed by whatever state, district, and school mandates there are out there. In our district, we only have a certain subset of population that is allowed to use AI because they have been trained to use AI in grades lower than ninth grade. Grades 9 through 12, they're currently allowed to use AI with teacher permission. So, but if we're talking about students who are allowed to use AI, they can use it the exact same way teachers do, as co-intelligence or as an assistant. I've seen amazing things happen where students use AI for tutoring. They use AI for writing feedback. They use AI for help on a math problem. They use AI for reflection to like analyze how something's going to perform based on a rubric. Students can use it as co-intelligence in that way. And students can advocate for themselves and use AI as an assistant by making content more inclusive and accessible to them. But again, if we're talking about AI for student use, it has to be directed by whatever state, district, and school mandates there are out there. But there has to be, and this is, I think, the biggest takeaway for me, is when we're looking at next steps, especially for AI and AI in Arizona schools, there has to be explicit new literacies instruction. Yes, we need to read, we need to write, we need to do math and science, we need to know our civics, but we also need to be able to access, manage, understand, integrate, communicate, evaluate, and create information safely and appropriately. We need to be able to do all of those things before we can jump headfirst into AI. Students need to be able to do all of those. We as teachers need to be able to do all of those. Students also need to be able to understand how information is created, packaged, and shared. They need to understand how media and information is used for them and by them. They need to make sure that they understand their devices, their tools, and their systems in all the different contexts. How Gemini for my home use is used to train versus Gemini for my school use is not used to. They need to be able to articulate that for themselves before they can really understand and use those AI systems. So all of those things need to happen prior to jumping into the AI pool. So that digital literacy piece, that media and information literacy piece, and the technology literacy piece really need to be at the forefront of our instruction with students before we really jump into that AI literacy. So that is our time together. I am really hoping that you were able to pause to take the time to dive in. A suggestion for you looking at this action plan is go back and I want you to set some goals for yourself. Okay. I want you to look at these bottom six. How do you want to use AI as co-intelligence? How do you want to use AI as an assistant? How do you already teach digital literacy? How do you already teach media and information literacy? How do you already teach technology literacy? To help you identify some areas of strength for you and some areas that you could focus on moving forward with your students. And then I want you to, if you would like to, fill out some questions and possibilities too. After spending this half an hour together, what questions do you still have? What possibilities exist for you, for students, for your professional career on when it comes to integrating AI? So, thank you for spending your time with us. I hope that you got something out of it. If you've got questions, feel free to email me, Jen Rose Hudson at gmail.com. And I really appreciate you taking the time.